I need to get some lights in here. So, if I was smart, it doesn't even matter if I was smart, because there was never an intention of having electricity in the cabin until I realized how easy it was to have electricity in the cabin. So, the extension cord that I've had running through here into the electric room to charge off the OPS and to run power off the generator when I've got all the electronic stuff going on. I've got all the wires taped together, and I just pulled through the Romex. I'll zoom in with the cell camera and show you what I'm talking about here. I've got the extension cord, I've got the Romex, and what's the third wire for? Well, the third wire is because I'm not ready to wire this yet. So I'm going to tape that back up to this one, and then I'm going to pull this one back through again, just so that I can plug it in until I get everything wired for this. But I have a turn here, and then this is an open bay all the way down to there, but then I had another turn that had to go through the next one in line, the next bay in line here. And so I had to pull a piece out, and I'll show you that. So this was the last piece before I switched over to the kitchen ceiling. And there was a pretty good gap here anyway, so I kind of want to clean that up. But the nice thing was when I pulled that down, I could get to, and you're not going to be able to see it. Let me see. Yeah, you can. There you go. I could get to the hole that I had drilled through there and the hole that I had drilled through there to get over here, and then I'll run everything the rest of the way through. It'll all run through the ceiling part here, and then it'll come down and it'll go into what I think is eventually going to be like, I don't know, like a 100 amp service box or something that I'll install here, and I'll run everything into that, and then I'll run the power right off of the inverter into that as well. But yeah, if I was smart, I would have done this before I closed in that ceiling, but at the same time, like I said, I never had any intentions of having all this electricity in the cabin until I figured out how easy it would be to have power in my cabin. So that worked pretty well, pulling it all the way back. And let me show you something on here real quick. So when you're taping off your wire to pull it, what I do is I pull the wire all the way down twice what I think I'm going to need. I wrap all that first layer, then I bend that wire back over towards the front, and I go ahead and I tape it all on top there too, so that it's not just going to pull out of the tape that you have on there. It's going to have to pull the whole tape and everything with you. So it's just something that I figured out. I mean, I haven't watched any videos on how to do this that works really good so that it doesn't come back off again. Makes it a lot easier pulling wire. Here's what I was talking about right here. So it's kind of hard for me to do this at the same time. And if I use the other camera, you won't be able to see it because it's way too dark in here. I'll pull the wrap off. That's the last one that's sitting on top of that wire, and I'll show you what I mean. It's wrapped all the way from the front, all the way to double what I thought I would need. And then I bend this over and wrap that as well. So then this is pulling against everything that's taped underneath there. Hope that makes it easier. So the reason why I pulled all that right now is because I need to clip this off and figure out how much wire I have left. This will run over the top just like this one does and come into the back, but I want to put an outlet down here that comes out in the kitchen, and I'll show you where it's going to come out in the kitchen, just for things like when I'm using the vac pack, the food saver, packing stuff up. I'm thinking right back in here would be a good location for that outlet to be, because then I got this counter that I can work on right here. And as you can tell, my kitchen counter is once again a mess. go. Don't get in a hurry, Sean. Don't get in a hurry. Which one is that? 10 gauge? Or 8 gauge? Let's see, it's that. Nope, it's not that one. Alright, I wired it all up while Will was standing here talking to me. Let's get this on. Still was terrible with my cutting. I'm going to have to get another oversized outlet cover for this one. Because I still messed it up over on that side, but I'm not an electrician. I'll have to clean up the little scuff marks I have there too. So we'll get all that taken care of. Now I am going to worry about wiring the back part. In here. Ah, up there, get up there. There we go. Nice! I got something right for a change. Alright, now I got to wire up this end to the outlet for the plug I have here. All right. Let's see what we got here. We got power in the kitchen. Nice. All right, I got that all wired and done. Next, I think I'm going to work on the window. I don't know if I'm going to get that done today or not. I'm watching the Vikings win. This is why I needed an outlet here. So I could use this and the occasional other appliance. And I need that because I picked this up from work today. It was on sale for $5.97 a pound. So it's, how big is this thing? 21.5 pounds total with the bones. And I have the bones wrapped in a separate package because I don't cook my prime rib on the bone. But figured I'll go ahead and I'll get myself a roast out of this, and then I'll go ahead and I'll roast that on Christmas Day, and the rest of it will all be steaks, so that I have a freezer full of steaks. But at that price, I couldn't pass it up. My total grocery bill, I'm a pretty good shopper when it comes to how much I spend. So the total was $288.22. But my total, when it was all said and done, was $160.38. I ended up saving $200 basically. Oh no, I saved $288. I'm sorry. My total was $160.38, and I saved a total of $288.22 on this. I loaded up on some butter because we had butter dirt cheap as well. Butter was $3.50 a pound. This was $4. I'll throw that in the freezer. I picked up some au jus, God bless you, mixes as well. I got another thing of coarse ground pepper because that's how I like to season mine. And I'm going to go ahead and start processing this all up. But my name is Sean in Alaska. And since you'll see this after Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you have a fantastic New Year. I'm going to get busy processing this thing. Getting it set up, getting the roast in the refrigerator, getting the steaks in the freezer, and calling it good. Christmas morning, the propane heater died at some point this morning. I wasn't paying attention, so I got the wood stove fired up. Just fired that up. Got the Christmas tree lit, charging up all the batteries, but most importantly, I got my roast, my little prime rib just for me. That's more than I could eat. That's a huge cut of meat. But I'm going to do that all up while I'm live today on YouTube. I'll probably record how I season it up and how I roast it, and we'll see how it turns out. I've never done one this small before. I usually do the whole thing. Just got off the phone with my daughter and my granddaughter, wishing them a Merry Christmas. My granddaughter scored, which is awesome. And yeah, just kind of laying back and being lazy. Batteries are already at 100%, but now they're charging and balancing out. And then I'm working on getting the OPS charged up too, so I don't have to run generator at all later on today when I'm doing the live. Yeah, that's what I'm doing today. All right. I I've never done one this small, but prime rib is, as far as I'm concerned, the absolute easiest roast meal of all of the holiday meals to fix. It's the priciest too. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's expensive. But there's always a deal around Christmas for it. And this is, I'm going to guess, about 4 pounds. Usually I do the whole thing. So I cut this off the roast the other day. I think I shared that earlier. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I cut this off the roast the other day, and the first trick you have to remember when you're going to cook prime rib is that you want it to sit out, come up to temperature, warm up a bit, so that when you pop it in the oven to roast it, you don't lose a lot of juices on it, because a cold piece of meat going right into heat will guarantee to dry a piece of meat out. So I've got it opened up here, and I'm going to season it up with the easiest seasonings you've ever seen in your life. I absolutely despise when I have battery issues. Okay, so the only seasonings, I'm going to go through and give this to you right now again, even though I had it all recorded on camera, but I think the battery juked out on me. The only seasonings you're going to need: coarse ground kosher salt, coarse ground black pepper, and oregano. So go heavy on the salt. It can take it. It's a big piece of meat. Go a little lighter on the black pepper, and then I go pretty heavy on the oregano. And then I'm just going to let it sit here on the counter for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Take a peek outside at the chickens, make sure everything's doing good. I'm going to let it sit here on the counter for an hour and a half, 2 hours before I think about putting it in the oven. I'm going to roast this completely differently than every instruction you hear. I hear a lot of folks talk about doing a reverse sear on this. I hear a lot of people talking about starting your oven at 500 degrees and then dropping the temperature down so you get that crust. Everything I just put on top of this is going to create the crust. So I'm only going to roast mine at 330 degrees, and I'm only interested in the internal temperature. It's a pretty chunk of meat, isn't it? I want the internal temperature to be roughly 125 degrees for me, but 120 degrees will get you rare, because when you pull this out of the oven, it's going to continue to cook as it cools down. So you're at 120 degrees, you're going to end up at rare. At 125, I'm going to end up at about medium rare. If anybody in your household likes it cooked more than that, what you do is, I am cheating. I'm not making au jus from scratch. I bought the mixes. What you do is you slice off their piece, and I always do this anyway. I have a pot of au jus going on the stove, and then every piece gets sliced and then dipped into the au jus before it's served onto the plate. But if somebody wants it done medium or medium well, at that point you just throw the slice of prime rib in the au jus and just let it sit there. And it'll cook all the pink right out of it, and still keep it nice and tender and give you plenty of flavor. If somebody wants it well done, you may want to, decide whether or not you want to have them over at Christmas next year. So yeah, I got the wood stove going in the cabin right now. I figured I'd get this seasoned up so it could come up to temperature, and we'll be going live here in about 45 minutes on YouTube, at which point I'll be doing this. So, how do I cook this? I normally would use a hotel pan, but I don't have one handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my roasting pan. Let me show you real quick. Use this roasting pan. I'm going to put a little bit of water in the bottom of it so that we don't singe the bottom of this roast. And then I'm going to place the roast in that pan, and that's what it's going to cook in with the lid off. So yeah, that's normally I just use a shallow edge hotel pan. It's a little bit taller. Normally a hotel pan would be about that high, so another half an inch. I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. I've never done a prime rib this small, like I said, though, so this should be interesting. This should be fun to see how it turns out. I'm pretty excited for it. I'm going to have prime rib. I'm going to have fresh asparagus and a potato, because everybody keeps yelling at me whenever I show pictures of my food that, hey, Sean, where's your vegetables? And all I usually show is meat and potato. And for those that don't know, a potato is a vegetable. But I will do the green vegetable with this today. Okay, let's see how this all turned out. It should be cool enough to touch. I did end up throwing a tent over this, mainly because I didn't want anything to get into it. So we're going to do the prime rib first. We'll cut this and see what we ended up with. Let's spin it around, because that would be the butt cut right there. Oh my God, I freaking nailed this. Are you kidding me? Oh, you have got to be kidding me. You can never go wrong when you cook a roast based on temperature. You can never go wrong with that. I don't know if you guys can really see that. Let me get the cell phone camera because I think you'll see it even better. Look at that. 3 beautiful cuts of prime rib right there. That is absolutely gorgeous. Holy smokes. Okay, so I have 2 end cuts, which is absolutely awesome. I'm going to take this piece right there, and it's still nice and warm. Oh, God. And I need some asparagus. Gus of aspara. Did that in butter and olive oil. Then I have potatoes. Okay, my fingers are not strong enough to do that anymore. Let's do this. I've got some potatoes left over for the next ribis of the primus. Then I have to get some au jus. And I don't really have an au jus cup. So we'll just pour a little oregano in there. Pour a little au jus there, and let's pour a little au jus on top of the roast. This is going to be incredible. I'm not lying. This is going to be phenomenal. Gotta get a picture of it. I'll spin my daughters around so they can see Dad's prime rib again. Oh my goodness. All right, I need a fork. I need a knife. And I don't need any horseradish yet. First, we're going to give a little taste. See what we got. Are you kidding me? So delicious. So delicious. All right, I'm going to go eat dinner. Sent my kids pictures of the dinner, so I'm sure the phone's going to blow up a bit. Oh my God. Absolutely perfect. Ah, there it goes. Oh. I have horseradish, but to be honest, I don't know that I really want to put any on here because this is absolutely divine. I think the last time I cooked this was for Bob and Ruth and Brother Will and Barb. And then we had some other people come over. And I did, I talked about the mushrooms on my live. I did burgundy mushrooms, which take quite a while to cook. They take 6 to 8 hours. But, delicious. It's times like this that I think I may live off grid, but I sure don't live like a caveman. this meal doesn't need any sauces or anything. Normally I'm a mayonnaise on my asparagus guy, but no. Oh, God. All right, I'm going to turn this camera off because I'm going to eat, and it's not going to look pretty because I'm going to devour this entire plate.